Hi, Justin. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you please start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your role with the Dental Practice Accelerator?
Hi Tamara, yes of course. Thanks for inviting me to this conversation as well, I really appreciate it. So my name's Justin Leigh. I am the founder of a business called Focus for Growth, and we're a sales and leadership development and training company, and we specialise in the dental market. And my involvement in the Dental Practice Accelerator, I was really privileged to be invited to be part of the mentor team alongside Sandeep Kumar and Samir Patel. And whilst Sandeep and Samir both have clinical backgrounds and are steeped in dentistry, my background actually early on in my career, I was a dental technician, but I actually am more of a kind of business coach. So my role is the coach. So Sandeep and Samir really sharing best practice, distilling what they found works in practice and leading teams and businesses. Whilst I bring an element of that, actually probably my specialty is getting really clear on the actions, making sure that everybody's enrolled, helping to think about communication and getting the whole practice team aligned with the growth journey, and then helping with accountability to make sure that the actions get completed, which is very often that operations and implementation can be the thing that trips people up. They've got all of the right intentions, they've got some great ideas, and then they just don't execute. So for me, it's about helping people be accountable to execute and bring their teams along on the journey.
Excellent. And how has the process been going for these past few months? How has your experience been as well?
It's been a great experience actually. So we started with our full day together with the practice team, and obviously we'd selected Campbell Dental Practice as was then. There's been a number of things, a number of changes that the team have wanted to make, and in particular, the owners of the practice, Jay and Kin, have really got clarity over where they're now taking the practice, what that long-term vision looks like, and I've really enjoyed helping them to come to those decisions and make those changes, or start to look at how they implement those changes. I've been having regular calls with Jay, Kin, and their practice manager Louise, just to give them the support and accountability to continue to inspire the changes in their own teams. And I've really enjoyed it actually. I do a lot of this work with groups of dentists and groups of customers. I don't actually very often get to work with a business team and really take them through a full implementation like this. So for me, it's quite rewarding to see the progress they've made so far and be part of the journey, even though I'm kind of at a distance from it because I'm just coaching for accountability. Actually, that check-in from them on a regular basis on, this is what we've committed to, here's what we've done about it, here are the results we're now seeing, here are the changes that have happened. It's really enjoyable part of the journey actually.
Excellent. And can you tell us a bit more about these changes? What are some of the steps that they've taken or the growth that you've seen with Campbell Dental Practice?
Yeah, the big thing is actually setting a really clear goal for what they want to achieve as a practice team. Mm-hmm. One of the big things that is a challenge for a lot of practices, and was a challenge for them, was an over-reliance on an NHS contract, and just finding that they just didn't have the capacity, because when you have a high UDA target, the work rate is really high, the surgeries are rammed with appointments for NHS patients. It's kind of going, well, where do we start the journey? How do we move from that level of constraint on their time to starting to build out a private practice? And really, it's been a really interesting journey. It starts with the intention, starts with the setting of a goal to say this is what we want to achieve. So they've gone through that process. Then it's about communicating that goal or those goals to your practice team and giving them confidence that it can be achieved, enrolling them on the mission that you're on, starting to think about how you then communicate that with patients. How do you start to zone your diary to create the capacity for the private treatment? How do you then start to think about what's the patient experience? What investments might we have to make as a practice to make sure that patient experience delivers on patients' expectations of a private practice, not an NHS practice? So a lot of it is mindset in the early stages, setting goals, communicating with the teams, starting to think about the patient experience, but then patient expectations and how you meet and deliver on those, and then made some strategic investments in practice to make sure that you can deliver on what's expected from the patient's perspective. And if you're a dentist that wants to aspire to build a higher performing, more prestigious practice, actually what are you prepared to commit to? So that's been a really, really useful process, and we're probably at the 5-6 month point now.
Yep.
So it's interesting when I speak to Jay and Kim, they're kind of going, oh yeah, we're not sure it's progressed as much as we thought it might. But actually, when you look back at the changes they've made and the results of those changes, actually that looking back is a better viewpoint than where they want to get to, because often we want to set goals that are pretty lofty, and for most people those goals take 3 to 5 years to achieve. So 6 months in the context of a 5-year goal, actually you have to make sure that you keep the context and perspective on where you've got to so far. So
right.
Yeah, it's useful.
Excellent. And it seems obviously that Jay and Ken are very ambitious people, and I'm sure they had a lot of great ideas and intentions. What is some advice or actions that you've actually given them that they've implemented?
Yeah, quite a few. So the goals we've already talked about, just getting really clear on what those goals are. Also understanding what is the current kind of capacity in the practice. Where have they got gaps? Where are there opportunities for them to start to look at the growth opportunities within the practice? We've also, there's an exercise I take a lot of clients through, which is really valuable, and it's something that's very often missed, which is just to kind of take a step back from the day-to-day and think bigger about the practice, and in particular to look at what they want as a goal long term. So kind of start to create a vision for the practice and the team and for patients. So what do we want? What do we aspire to be as a practice in the future for our patients and our local community? So to getting clear on like a vision statement or a statement of intent for the future. The second area is about impact and kind of the mission. What's the impact they want to make, here and now? What's the reason the practice exists? What is it that really inspires every member of the team to show up at their best every day? So that's been really useful to help them to start to steer and guide their thoughts about that, so they can articulate it more easily to themselves, to each other, and to patients. And then thirdly, we've looked at values. So thinking about standards, principles, the guiding the guiding statements that as a team and as a practice they want to adhere to, that starts to elevate their position, elevate performance, and elevate what they stand for as a practice in their local area. And so those three kind of pillars, strategic pillars of kind of the underpin a business, have been really useful for them to go through. And whilst they've gone through it, they've kind of had their own thoughts, they've engaged their entire team in that, and now they're just finalising what those three components look like as they go into 2023. So that it's a really often missed strategic exercise. Large companies do it, bigger organisations, but actually for a smaller practice team to get that level of clarity can be really useful, because it starts to guide decision making, it starts to give people confidence, it starts to give you higher levels of engagement and motivation as well. So there's been a number of things, those kind of 3 or 4 things stand out.
Excellent. So you've given them obviously very valuable advice, but from your perspective, from a mentor's perspective, what are some things you've learned in this process or taken away from?
Yeah, I've really liked, as I said, going deep with a client into their own business plan, their goals and aspirations, and recognising that these things don't happen overnight. There's a processing time, or there's a duration that you have to go through, a growth period, and very often we set goals, we want to achieve things, and we're pretty ambitious about that. But sometimes you have to allow the gestation period, you have to allow change to settle, it's really important to ensure everybody in the team is on board with the changes that you want to make. And I think the number one thing when anybody's trying to make a significant change in a practice is just communication. And I don't think it's possible to over communicate, but it is possible to under communicate. So if you set off on a course and then you don't follow up, or for whatever reason you're not just taking the time to reinforce what it is you're trying to achieve, people can very easily either forget or slip back into previous habits and behaviours. And so that continual focus on where are we going, what's the goal, why is it important, and communicating progress so that people stay on board, that's so important. And whilst I know that, it kind of, when you go through projects like this, it reminds you of the importance of that over and over again.
Yeah, it's definitely a very hands-on, full-on project, so I can imagine. And what would you say is the biggest change that you've seen with the practice and with Jay and Kin specifically?
So for me, the big thing, I think, is clarity over where they want to go. Prior to us joining them and starting this project, I think they knew they wanted to change. They didn't quite know what they wanted to change towards. So we've helped them to get really clear on the goals, and that clarity over what they want to achieve and why they want to achieve it has become really useful motivation for them. So they're clear on where they're headed. They're now motivated to do it. They've got confidence to do it because of that clarity in the plan. They've got support from Samir, Sandeep and myself, and I think that's given them confidence as well. That's the biggest change, is that clarity on the goal, why they want to get there, and now they've got confidence to actually make tangible steps in the right direction to achieve those goals over time. So that's the big thing.
And what does the future look like for Campbell Dental Practice? What are some ideas that you're working on currently with them?
Well, they've already made this transition, so they've got a move towards private treatment, a fully private practice at some point in the future. For now, really thinking about how they take that initial step to consolidate it. And I don't want to. There was a bit of a background noise there, but sorry, my own. I don't want to reveal any spoilers, but they've made a first significant step towards consolidating that move to private with a single surgery, really kind of committing to it full time, which is so important. So that's been great progress, because actually that first step for a lot of heavily NHS practices, to make that migration to private, it's an important, bold step, but it's also one that can be fraught with reservation, it's quite nerve-wracking. And the fact that they've overcome that, made this commitment, they're already starting to see the progress. They've got more private patients booking in and seeing Kin and other members of the associate team there. They've got more of that happening now than they've ever had before, and they now believe and can see that trajectory. So that's been a significant turning point. And it's like anything, once you start to build that momentum, that's really going to flow in 2023. So where I can see them going to is actually every goal they set, they will achieve. And really, what does the future hold for them? It depends how big they kind of dare to dream, really.
Excellent. And for you, what was the most rewarding part of this process, or what still is the most rewarding part of this process?
I think it's seeing the transformation in their clarity and confidence. I work, as I say, with the management team, with Jay, Kin, and Louise. And in the first meeting, it was a really great first meeting, but there was a lot of, everything that we discussed was a question, right? So it's like, is this possible? Is that possible? Could we really do this? Could we really do that? And seeing that transformation from them questioning, can we do this, to having a really tangible plan, prioritising the actions in the plan, and making progress every single time we meet. Every time I meet with Jay and Kin and Louise, they'll update me and say, well, this has happened now and that's happened now. For them, so I see them, I spend time with them once a month, and I'll check in with Jay ad hoc as and when things come up. But once a month we have this review meeting. And for them, because it's daily iterations and improvements and progress, when they come to a month and I say, well, let's check in on the actions, where are we with this? And then, actually, yeah, we've achieved that. And not only have we achieved that, but the next thing we need to do now is, and they're already making these significant steps and significant progress, but they've already started to take that for granted. And that is so rewarding for me, because they've gone from a level of uncertainty, can we do this, to having such a solid, tangible plan, and they're making progress every month. I don't even know that they realise how significant their confidence is increasing, the actions they're taking. They're becoming almost fearless in in the changes that they're inspiring through their practice and their teams, and that's really rewarding to see. As a coach, I see that change. For them, it's gradual because it's an evolution of who they are. But the most rewarding thing for me, I think, is seeing that change in confidence and clarity as they move forward. It's been a brilliant experience so far.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And what are you most excited about for the future of Dental Practice Accelerator?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is practice number one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our first foray into it. I think seeing what Jay, Kim, Louise and their team have achieved so far is inspiring for us, because I guess we're the catalyst to help that happen, which has been brilliant. We are also talking to Sandy. We're excited about what's next, how much more impact. Once this is proven, and we're pretty far along the road now, even just 6 months in. Once this is proven, how do we help more and more practice principals, partners, management teams to go through that same journey, gain that same clarity, confidence, and action towards progress and really transforming their practices. So we're excited about what comes next. We're not entirely sure what that is, but we're quite excited to find out.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Justin, for joining us, and I look forward to catching up in a few months' time to see more progress that they've all made. So thank you again for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you, Tamara. I look forward to it as well. Thank you.